Receiving the Turkish Prime Minister in Tehran, Ahmadinejad tells Erdogan that unity is the best way to turn threats into opportunities. Is the current Turkish-Iranian rapprochement good for the region? Can these non-Arab countries help solve or exacerbate the problems of their Arab neighbors? This is Inside Story. Welcome to the program. I'm Imran Garda. Turkey making new friends and maybe foes and redefining its position in the region. The Turkish Prime Minister may not only be visiting the Iranian president to boost bilateral relations, but also to shape a new power bloc in the region. Both Turkey and Iran agree that stronger ties will benefit the region and the Islamic world at large. Here's Mohammed Shukair with more.
The closer we come together, the more we can remove our problems and the plots against us. That's a part of what Iran's President Ahmadinejad told the Turkish Prime Minister as he received him in Tehran, hoping to minimize the impact of Western pressure to do otherwise. Iranian senior officials praised Turkey's determination to enhance ties with Iran.
The Erdogan government's position is an Islamic one. We believe there is common ground to expand the cooperation between our countries. His latest position on the Zionist entity has boosted these relations.
The Turkish Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan has steadily expanded NATO members' Turkey influence in the Middle East since his Islamist-rooted AK party took power in 2002. His latest visit to Iran coincides with worsening ties between Turkey and its regional ally, Israel. 2 weeks ago, Turkey excluded Israel from a planned NATO military exercise in protest against the war on Gaza, prompting rare criticism from Washington. Erdogan signaled willingness to help reduce the recent tension between Tehran and Islamabad, and between Tehran and Washington on the nuclear issue. Erdogan accused the West of treating Iran unfairly over the nuclear program, downplaying concerns that Iran seeks nuclear arms as gossip, while focusing instead on the Israeli nuclear arsenal.
It would not be fair nor acceptable to leave the one country which possesses nuclear weapons in the region alone while we focus solely on Iran. This would be unfair. We have to clean up the whole region from these weapons.
The PKK and issues related to the Kurds in both Turkey and Iran were also on the agenda, as well as coordinating a position on the Palestinian reconciliation efforts and a commitment to the integrity of Iraqi territories. Above all, there is business being done. Bilateral Iran-Turkey trade reached $7 billion in 2008, with more plans to develop part of the world's largest gas field in Iran. Such deals would certainly help Tehran avoid the pinch of any further looming sanctions the Western world may succeed in imposing through the United Nations. Mohammed Shukair for Inside Story.
Well, joining us on the program today from Tehran, Professor Sadiq Zibakalam, Professor of Political Science at Tehran University. From the Turkish capital Ankara, we have Professor Doğu Ergil. He's also a Professor of Political Science at Ankara University. And finally, David Cathell, the Executive Director of the Institute of Turkish Studies, who joins us from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Sadiq Zibakalam, if I could come to you first. To what extent does a stronger relationship with Turkey strengthen Iran's standing on a whole host of issues?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I must say that never in the past 30 years of the history of the Islamic Republic, the relation between Tehran and Ankara has been as warm as it has been nowadays. That is primarily due to several factors. The first being Turkish anti-Israeli stance, which is very welcome in Tehran. Turkey's position vis-a-vis Iran's nuclear program, again, this is something that is very welcome in Iran. And finally, the prospect of closer tie on economic field between Iran and Turkey. I must warn, however, that there is a fundamental stumbling block between Tehran and Ankara, and that is Turkish a strategic alliance with United States. Now, obviously, the Islamic Republic would welcome if Turkey could be dislodged from its closer tie with United States. But notwithstanding that issue, as I said, Ankara's anti-Israeli stand is a revolutionary step as far as Tehran is concerned.
David Cathell in Washington, is it slight concern or alarm bells for the United States?
Well, I think it's more of a slight concern, and I would disagree with the first speaker here in that I don't think it's a revolutionary move. I think it's an evolutionary move, and this is very much in keeping with the Davutoglu foreign policy of strategic depth and engagement with neighbors. I think this is a logical, from the Turkish perspective, first step. Iran has always been a neighbor of Turkey. It is a very large country, and I think that one needs to have a discourse or a dialogue with one's neighbors, and I think this is what that reflects.
Though, Ergil, as evolutionary as this may be, it's still surprising a lot of people. Is Turkey's foreign policy and the new economic deals with the likes of Iran making it, in many ways, an enigma that many other nations are struggling to understand at this moment in time?
Well, it's not an enigma at all. First of all, the Turkish new foreign policy is not anti-Israeli. To say the least, it is against some excesses of Israel vis-a-vis the Palestinians. Secondly, the expectation of Iran for a dislodgement of or distancing away from U.S.-Turkish relations is not realistic at all. Turkey is proliferating its foreign policy and expanding into new areas, into neighboring countries, and trying to build a new foreign policy devoid of a military tutelage and preferences born out of it, like only NATO alliance or direct and only relationship with the West. So this is a more realistic and more richer foreign policy.
What about inside Turkey itself? Will these moves like befriending Iran or stronger relations with Iran fuel the fears amongst secularists and some of the ultra Kemalists in the Turkish Republic who say that Erdogan domestically is more inclined maybe to theocracy than democracy?
Well, everyone with a sane mind knows that the AKP, the Justice and Development Party, the leader of which is Mr. Erdogan, is not after theocracy. Culturally, this group, this party, is affiliated with an Islamic cultural climate, but that is only culturally. Politically, they are very much in tune with the secular system and international relations, not based on religion, but on national interests and rising opportunities.
Sadiq Zibakalam, is there a danger that the Iranians might have too many expectations of Turkey? For example, looking at it realistically, Turkey is still a good friend of Israel, very strong ally militarily and politically with the United States, still a crucial part of NATO. Those ties aren't going to come unstuck very quickly, are they? I mean, no matter how provocative some of the statements from Recep Tayyip Erdogan may be.
No, you see, Tehran is realistic, and we are not expecting too much. We are not daydreaming about Turkey actually distancing itself from a strategic ally of United States. You must also realize that Iran and Turkey, they have an underlying goal in the region, and that is the both countries are concerned about the north of Iraq and an independent Kurdish state. Tehran is worried about that development, and Turkey is also worried about that development. So leaving other issues aside, the very fact that both Tehran and Ankara are worried about an independent, a truly independent Kurdish state in northern Iraq is another factor which pushes Turkey and Iran together.
Let's talk about the EU for a little bit. Turkey has spent the last decade as a candidate country for European Union membership, but the delay in its accession has some suggesting that Turkey feels it might be better off building relations with its eastern neighbours. In this time, Turkey has had to make a lot of concessions to comply with EU regulations. These include trade and human rights issues, but it still has a long way to go. 8 areas of compliance have been frozen by the EU, including the one dealing with Turkey's external relations. Well, even if the country does make all the necessary changes, the earliest it can become a member is 2016. On the eastern side, things seem to be moving a little faster. The visit to Iran comes after Turkey was one of the first countries to congratulate President Ahmadinejad on his election victory. Turkey has recently dropped its border controls with Syria, so Syrians no longer need visas to enter the country. And earlier this month, Israeli media voiced its concern over this warming relationship. It was reported that Syria would now only deal with Israel if Turkey is the mediator. Let's go back to our guests. Mr. Ergil, is Turkey, with a lot of these overtures, maybe cutting its relations with the European Union or its aspirations for European Union membership? Is it going a step too far? Will Europe at some point say, there's no way you're going to be allowed in now?
Well, look, when Romania and Bulgaria became members of the European Union, they were not more developed than Turkey at that time, or even today. But there was an elite consensus on EU membership, and they never quarreled with the EU acquis. That is, all the agreement and the requirements of that acquis. Unfortunately, that elite consensus is missing in Turkey, and Turkey so far has quarreled with those EU standards. But Turkey has never backed up from being a member of Europe, or at least be in the European cultural zone. What Turkey is doing by opening up to the east and to the south, east meaning the Caucasian region, and south meaning Iran, Iraq, and Syria, is that it is really deepening its relations with its neighbors, which is expressed in the slogan of zero problem with its neighbors. This not only brings more power to Turkey by proliferating its relations, but also economic opportunities which render Turkey more independent and more influential in the area.
David Cathell, won't some European countries, some Western European countries in particular, like maybe France, be thinking that all these moves are just Turkey thumbing its nose to the European Union, that it's gone off on a different track?
Well, I think undoubtedly there are some nations within the European Union that are going to use this to stymie the accession process, and I think we know who they are, and basically they are anti-Turkish accession to begin with. I very much agree with Professor Ergil here, and I would like to just add a couple points, and that is that one, I don't think that Turkey necessarily, by looking in the other direction, is backing off from membership within the EU. I think it's just a pragmatic look at the region. It's very pragmatic to do business and to have constant dialogue with one's neighbors. It doesn't necessarily reflect anything other than just that interest. But also historically, Turkey's returning to the older historical run, which is the communication with all of the neighbors in the region. I think that one has to keep in mind that these boundaries, these particularly in the east, the borders have been walls for quite a number of years, and that with these latest initiatives, the Armenian initiative and the journey to Tehran and the like in Syria, this is in Turkey's own interest that they go ahead and do this. At the same time, the European Union process is benefiting Turkey internally for a whole host of reasons, and many that you touched on, and that is that human rights, civil society projects and the like are all being pushed forward. So, you know, what happens with the EU in the long run is really based on what the EU thinks. What Turkey is doing right now is pursuing its own interest in a very pragmatic way.
Professor Ziba Kalam in Tehran, looking at the business side of the relation between Turkey and Iran, there's trade in the billions. I'm looking at some extraordinary figures in front of me. The two countries are together on this massive Nabucco gas pipeline project and other initiatives. What will this mean a few years down the line when pipelines like this actually provide energy to European countries while bypassing some of the more traditional routes?
Well, obviously, the prospect of cooperating in the gas and oil fields of Iran and actually delivering Iranian natural gas through Turkey to Europe, that is also a strategic goal from the Islamic Republic of Iran's point of view, because in a sense, although the Iranian regime is wary of Turkey moving too close to the EU, but on the other hand, Tehran is watching actually with enthusiasm that Turkey would be a good go-between as far as the future is concerned, as supply of energy, Iranian gas, to the European the continent. Iranian definitely trust more Turkey as an economical alliance of pushing Iran gas to Europe than Russia.
And Professor,
that again is an important factor.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. And again, it strengthens Iran politically, doesn't it? Because even if more sanctions are slapped on Iran on a political level, business deals like this can only help the country stand on its own 2 feet.
Exactly, because if Iran in few years' time is actually supplying gas to Europe, how on earth you expect to pass a sanction and keep it effectively against Iran in such a scenario?
Dohu Ergil, let's look at the Middle East now and the Arab world in particular with a more confident... Oh, okay, fine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can I add a few words to this? First of all, if Iran pursues a peaceful nuclear program, Turkey will endorse and support it. But if the contrast is true, that Iran pursues a nuclear weapon or weaponry, arsenal, Turkey will be against it. So having economic deals with Iran does not mean endorsing Iran's nuclear program that will end up in equipping itself with nuclear bombs. In that sense, what the professor from Iran says is that these are not supplementary, these are two different things. In fact, Turkey will also feel threatened. You know, Turkey will not turn its head over to the other direction when Iran is really pursuing a how would I say, negative nuclear program. In that sense, what Turkey is a nuclear-free Middle East. So when Turkey says, let's look at other nuclear powers, that's what it means. It doesn't mean that since, let's say, Israel has nuclear weapons, Iran should have them too. No one would have them.
And going back to my point now regarding the Middle East and the Arab world in particular, Turkey is becoming more expansive, more confident. Iran is also becoming more expansive and more confident. And you've got both sides thawing relations. What does it mean for the Arab world? Won't there be many within the Arab world who would be concerned that from the West and from the East, they've got two empires that are getting stronger and squeezing them?
Well, fortunately, Turkey has gotten its lesson after the demise of the Ottoman Empire. All those older peoples of the Ottoman state do not want an empire over them. They just want an influential partner, both in international relations and in economy. So what Turkey is expected to do in the Middle East is perhaps forge an economic and political alliance that will help these countries to be more confident, to be more self-sustaining, because Middle East is the folding line between East and the West, and the East now is becoming more and more the locomotive of globalization and replacing the driving role of the West ones. So Turkey and Iran is in between, and if Iran really fine-tunes its regime perhaps, then it will be more readily accepted as Turkey between the East and the West.
David Cathell, Turkey has been a positive mediator between Syria and Israel at some points in time, but it's been a mediator nonetheless. Will it be allowed to become the mediator between Iran and the West as a whole, as it wants to?
Well, I can't speak for the West as a whole. I could certainly say that that the United States would appreciate Turkish support and help, but I cannot envision the United States, or for that matter, most Western European powers, allowing another nation to mediate for them under these circumstances. I think that, you know, rule number one in diplomacy is not to have intermediaries involved. It would only be as a last resort. So I think that that's highly unlikely. I would also just like to touch back very briefly on the situation with Israel, and that is that while the heat was turned up recently and a lot of high-level static has been going back and forth, I think it's a very deep mistake to assume that that relationship between Turkey and Israel is headed for a major fall. I think that this reflects some public opinion, and I think that Turkey is also looking to establish itself in the middle, particularly between Syria and Israel. So one shouldn't overplay that card.
Gentlemen, it's been an educational discussion. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Professor Ziba Kalam, Professor Ergil, and David Cathell in DC.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your thoughts and opinions, and thank you so much, the viewer, for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. As always, we welcome your comments and suggestions. You can email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Bye-bye for now.